we didn't bring Ask Elephant into Blend to listen to calls, because I think that can be a bit of a misconception when you see Ask Elephant popping up in all of these calls, that it's just call recording software. But we brought it in to listen to our business.
There is account managers on your phone with your customer right now. That is a perfect case study that you've been wishing could get. And it's there. You just don't know it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Demand Decoded. Dan here with you as usual, but we have a familiar face with us today. Josh Bauk, who is, as you should know if you listen to a few Demand Decoded episodes, Blend's US CEO. Josh is on the tired side. He's just literally flown over, landed a few hours ago from our Atlanta office. And yeah, Josh was here with me today to have a fascinating conversation with Ask Elephant's CEO, Woody. And we are huge fans of Ask Elephant. You've probably heard us talk about it many times on the podcast. I've been showing, marketing leaders across the board really cool use cases with Ask Elephant recently, basically just orchestrating their entire business operations with AI, and the use cases from this tool are just outstanding. It was amazing conversation with Woody, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a phenomenal episode, probably one of the highest rated, just because of what he's created in Ask Elephant and what we've seen it be able to do, both for us and our business and our customers.
Yeah, I think the business impact it can have across the board is probably from a software up there with nothing I've ever seen. Before we get into the podcast today, here's a quick word from our sponsors, HubSpot. Think about listening to this podcast right now. You're probably multitasking and catching 70, maybe 80% of it. Now flip that and imagine only catching 20%. That'd be pretty crazy, right? Yet most businesses only use 20% of their data. All the important details in call logs, emails, and chats just left floating in digital space. HubSpot gives you access to those insights to help your business grow, because when you know more, you grow more. Visit HubSpot.com to get the full picture today. Well, let's start by thinking about, your professional background and how you kind of came, as far as I can see, from a sales background all the way up to what led you to actually create Ask Elephant, because it's an interesting career path that I can see as far as on LinkedIn anyway.
Well, it is a little unique from a standpoint that I actually I went to college for a computer science degree. So I'm actually a nerd.
That's not unique.
What? That's not unique?
Yeah. That's not unique.
But for a sales guy, it's a little unique. Most of the sales guys I went with did communication degrees, business degrees, marketing degrees, or nothing. So I was done with school very early on. I was part of an accelerated program. So I was actually got it was just a 2-year degree, but I was 19 years old. So I was done early. So I was in the workforce super early. But to pay for the earliest and easiest jobs to get was sales jobs. And so I was knocking doors when I was 17 years old. I went out and knocked did summer sales, which is very common here in Utah. I loved it. And the second year I managed. So I was 18 and I was knocking doors and going to school for a computer science degree. And so being a nerd and enjoying talking to humans, I had a great career in sales. So that's kind of where it all started. But it allowed me, from a RevOps mind, from using the tools and getting more and more out of the data and getting more out of the tools than most of the other people that I was, alongside with, because they didn't want to get into the tools, or they were scared to get into HubSpot, or they were scared to get into a dashboard, or scared to try to configure a field in Excel. And that's not something that I was afraid of, because I had that background in computer science.
Woody, I'm curious, did you ever write code professionally?
I never did it professionally. Most of what I did was dabbled in creating really stupid websites, and just good old PHP days. But now that AI can do most of the heavy lifting, I can at least understand the concepts
Yep.
behind what it's doing, even though
Yep.
I never did it professionally. I just dabbled.
Yeah, I ask only because that's how I started my career. I was this comp sci guy, comp sci and math, and then started writing code for a couple of years before I realized that people were a lot more fun to work with than bits and bytes. And obviously I'm a lot older than you, so it took me, back then we were writing Windows 95 stuff.
Um,
Or we
Sorry,
we shouldn't go
no.
into that anymore.
Hey,
Leave
the first thing my dad, I again, you have a couple years on me, but not a ton. There's a few more grays in those beers. Um, but early on, like my dad helped me build a Windows 95 computer. And so like I remember being a kid and putting it all together, the massive, I think they're 5.5-inch floppy disks or whatever. I don't remember like
Yeah, five and
trying
a quarter.
yeah, 5.25. That's what they were. I had a Mickey
I
Mouse.
don't know what that is in centimeters. I'm sorry.
Sorry, what's a floppy disk?
That's back when we had to roll up our own windows in cars. Okay, like this is a long time ago.
No idea what you're on about.
You feel like you're on with your two dads?
Yeah, literally. What is this? I've got Uncle Josh and Uncle Woody on with me right now. Sorry, like this Demand Decoded episode has just started off, really weird.
You put two sales guys on a
Yeah.
call with you, you're in trouble.
But I think that combination of computer science plus having a background in sales, like a lot of the best marketers I know actually have a background in sales, or at least have done a stint in sales to understand, such a crucial function to the business, and to be able to then take that with you to Ask Elephant is really, really interesting. I'd love to know the point in time that you thought, Ask Elephant as a solution. What was the problem that made you think time and time again that, right, I need to actually solve for this?
There's a couple things that happened earlier in my career that led up to it. So I like to add this into the story because I do think it's extremely important to know that most sales teams, they are so focused on hitting quota because we call it our keep our job number. Like, so nothing else really matters. We are super, super, super focused on hitting our number. And so I was exactly the same. I was like, I wasn't any different. But when I went over and I got into leadership, I was building a company called Jive Communications, um, uh, a telephone company that we were selling to businesses. I like, I was on, I was running the sales team and I was getting rejected internally more than I was externally. I started running into finance. I was running into deal desk. I was running into issues with marketing. I was having all these things with these other departments that I now was the one responsible for the team that those hangups were causing issues for. And so I did what a sales guy should do. I just went and started to say, okay, if I need to now sell internally, I'm going to go become best friends with them. And so I went and became best friends with finance. And I sat in Sam's office and I said, Sam, tell me what you're doing. What are you even supposed to be? Like, what are you working on? Like, what are the problems you're trying to solve? And I just did discovery internally versus just focusing on it for the customers. And I was blown away how selfish I was. I was blown away how not having any clue of the ripple effects of what was going on from the sales team. And so that was that early insight where I was like, oh my gosh, if I just make it so everyone else is now part of the sales team and we understand each other's problems, we can be able to go faster. So I was able to do this massive turnaround. We went from 18 to 85 million in 18 months because I finally stopped working against the team and I just started getting everyone to work together. I became best friends with marketing. I brought him a Diet Coke and a cream-filled donut every single Wednesday. And I just started understanding their problems, their reports, and the things they needed to solve. And I created a partnership. But to do that, I manually broke down the data silos. And so then we went over to Divi, and Divi was a fantastic success story. Again, I started right before they hit 100K of ARR, took it from 100K to the 185-ish million when we got acquired to 350 million before I left. And the thing we started different at Jive is we broke down all those silos. I started off as best friends with finance. I started off as best friends with marketing. I started off with breaking down these silos, and but it still took a ton and too much effort. So then I thought, how do we now do this at scale? And let's create a second brain. An AI that never forgets is how the first ideas of Ask Elephant came from. Kind of cheesy, but you know, when you're starting with a new business, it usually starts that way. And
I like
that's where it all started. And now it's about being a proactive outcome system that allows you guys with the cool, amazing things you guys have built to now be automated and not be as reactive. And it's really turning into something special.
Yeah. And as we get into what Ask Elephant actually is, it will become clear why what you've just said there about breaking down those silos is so important, right? Because, well, I don't want to steal your thunder actually in terms of describing exactly what Ask Elephant is, because whilst I feel like I could probably describe it pretty well, I'd love to hear from you how you would actually describe it as a tool.
Yeah. We're the new category that I think is colliding from all these other categories is a revenue operating system. Something that is not these isolated tools that are broken across. Now, and I think that's the what it is. But when we talk about the why it is, it's actually a revenue outcome system because it's focusing on making it so us as humans can drive outcomes for our customers and help our customers along the journey and also drive those outcomes for us. So now when we think about how that actually works, because people hear that, but they don't know what that looks like, it's a tool that has a centralized database. So it knows everything about your customers and your process. And then it has the automated agentic workflows and agents on top of it. That is a proactive tool that's putting that data to work and outside the silos of what it is, which is the cool stuff that you guys have built.
Yeah. So the way that I would describe Ask Elephant, um, and it might take a different approach because of the way that I've used the tool, is like a growth orchestration tool,
Yeah.
which is maybe just another way of wording what you've said, right? Taking loads of unstructured data, like you were saying back in the day, how you would speak to finance and marketing who have unstructured data hidden within their conversations, hidden within their processes, hidden within all the things they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and basically taking all of that unstructured data and actually putting it into formats and systems that can work with the entire business to give them all of the insights they could possibly need to collaborate on, deals, expansion, churn risks, and we can get into some of the other use cases. But yeah, I think the part about taking all of that unstructured data, all of the conversations that just happen seamlessly in a business and putting those into use cases is just, fascinating.
I love that. A growth orchestration is a great way to talk about it as well. That we believe this category
TM blend.
it's yours, Dan. I'll always give you credit for that one.
Well, it's Josh's really.
Yeah,
Would you,
that it
would you
recorded. It's yours. You're the first one to say it on this recording, so Josh doesn't
all
get
right, brilliant. It definitely has. Would you describe it differently, Ask Elephant, or?
I mean, um, I would say it's magic. Um, and the reason I say that is, because of all this gray hair, I've been running sales organizations, growth organizations, customer facing organizations for, too long. And the things that have always been super hard and maybe impossible to get really done well and done right in mid-size B2B tech companies now is done automatically.
Yeah.
Like every single moment of every single day. Ask Elephant is on the job. It doesn't forget, but more importantly, it pays attention in near real time to everything that's going on. Every touch point with my customer, everything that's happening in my CRM, everything that every call with a prospect. And I can take all of that and I can, through the workflows that we build, I can create the outcomes that I've always wanted to create, but they were just too damn hard.
Mm.
Um, it just wasn't feasible without, at a like I say, like a mid-sized B2B tech company that's, you know 20 million to 200 million in revenue, and now it's a flip of a switch.
Yeah.
It's just, so I'm a big fan. I use it every day. I'm in our business where our customers are the growth organizations of their organizations, right? We sell to growth organizations. We are seeing these same things not only empower our business, but empower our customers' business, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. When I had an agent alert me about an email that someone on my team got, and I was able to get involved at the right time with the right information, and like the customer was blown away that as a founder who has, we have 35 employees, and that I was alerted because of something that happened in an email to someone else. And then it did all the research. So all the interactions with the customers, and had that perfect insight from the CRM, the email, and all the conversations, that I said the right thing at the right time to the right person. Like it's honestly, it's mind blowing when it happens. You're like, what just like, this is unreal.
That's right. Customer experience is radically different.
Yeah.
And better. Both for happy customers and for customers that may be going through some challenges. And so, yeah, I think, yep.
Yeah, I wrote a quote down here. Actually, I just realized when I flipped to the other page that I put this in here, and it's how I positioned Ask Elephant. And I think the reason, well, Josh, you brought Ask Elephant into the business, right? But I've written here that we didn't bring Ask Elephant into Blend to listen to calls, because I think that can be a bit of a misconception when you see Ask Elephant popping up in all of these calls, that it's just call recording software. But we brought it in to listen to our business. Because, and we'll get into some. Do you like that? Do you like that? We'll get into some of the workflows, but for people listening, Woody, who are probably familiar with all of the usual LLMs they're using, how is Ask Elephant as an AI tool? Because we're swamped with AI tools as well at the moment, right? How is it different to other AI tools out there, and different to the typical large language models like ChatGPT people would be using right now?
I think the first thing is, again, this is going to age. So Josh and I are going to have a conversation real quick. You probably don't remember back then. But when Salesforce was coming to, their whole thing was, we're CRM in the cloud, in the cloud, in the cloud, in the cloud, in the cloud. And then we went through that generation of like, well, there's an app for that. There's an app for that. There's an app for that. We're going to go through this one pretty quick, because we actually don't talk about AI because AI hype is now kind of over. Like just because it has AI doesn't mean like it's special. Just because you have a mobile app doesn't mean that you're up to speed on that. Like, those are now just the table stakes to be able to do there. So we're completely agnostic when it comes to the language models. We don't care which model you like to use. You can use any single one of them on there, because it now is just there. So now the question is, how are you orchestrating it? And I'm using your word earlier, Dan, of like that growth orchestration of how those systems are now in place to be monitoring your back and be more proactive versus the reactive thing. And so I think that would be where we're spending our time and our energy, is focusing on that proactive growth orchestration that is driving those outcomes, driving those insights, so that way you can be at the right place at the right time and making the right impacts. And I lost my train of thought there a little bit, but Dan, I think that's really when I go into it, is like, we actually don't talk to customers about AI anymore. If they are saying, hey, what's our AI strategy? Then we're saying, okay, let's just talk about what your strategy is, and let's talk about if AI is the right tool to help you towards that strategy. just like if you were going to say, should it be on on cloud or prem back in the day. Josh, I'm aging us. We're old.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, when I talk to customers, and even when I think about how we use it in our own business, I'm trying to answer the question: if X could know Y at Z moment, what outcome would be produced? And that's how I think about Ask Elephant workflows. Is
Yeah.
I'm trying to take something's happening in the business.
Mm-hmm.
If I can make some person or group of people or other process even knowledgeable about something that's happening at a
Yep.
specific time, do my outcomes get better? And we can see over and over and over again how that's happening, whether it's in detecting customer concerns, customer sat issues in real time, and getting the right person, like what he said, getting the right person, even if it's the founder or the CEO, um, into that thread immediately. Um, we're seeing it in uh, how to close business faster, being able to use it to create um, workflows that generate content that the sales team can use, that proposals, statements of work, regardless,
Yeah.
right? Leveraging everything in the CRM, leveraging the multiple calls with the customer. Um, by the way, my favorite thing you built into that tool is the ability to select multiple calls. I'll give you one quick anecdote. A friend of mine's a CEO of a company that we've brought a Ask Elephant to. He's brand new in the role. He wanted to get a feel for customer sentiment, and so he scheduled calls with 15 of his top customers, invited Ask Elephant to join them. The richness of um, the consolidated voice of customer analysis that we could do together, because he was able to grab all 15 of those and bring, like, just point and click very quickly and bring them in, and then ask Elephant to help him act like a voice of customer analyst and create a brief that went to his board in like seconds. Like, it was phenomenal. And now it's one of the things that's going to shape his new rebrand that we're working on. But it's ensuring, I mean, if think about how many times you've been involved in a rebrand where it's a bunch of executives talking about what they think the brand should be,
Yeah.
instead of, we've got 3 years of customer calls that are in this database, and Ask Elephant is creating a synthesis of those and keeping that updated, and and so that you have sort of this real time view of what value my customers get out of my business.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, I
Um,
love it too.
it's amazing how we used to feel like we worked for our data, and now what it feels like when your data is working for you, it just feels different.
Yeah. I'd love to, like, you've mentioned some brilliant use cases there. I'd love to like dissect a few of them and like understand and tell the audience what's actually happening behind the scenes. So I'll
Yeah.
start things off with one of my own use cases here, which is for all the marketers listening, which is around pain points and messaging and understanding your buyers deeply, usually prospects deeply, from sales calls. So we record all of our sales calls using Ask Elephant's call recorder, which is brilliant. And we've set up a workflow, we've got multiple workflows that detect pain points, and I've actually got it up here and the kind of things that it's looking at. So it's analyzing primary pain points, primary buying triggers, and primary category entry points. And using Ask Elephant, we're able to take all of our sales call recordings. We run them. They all run through this workflow because we've got it tagged as a sales call, by the actual sales rep itself. Runs through the workflow. It then triggers a prompt to tell it what to do, pretty much like we would use Claude instructions or custom GPTs, a kind of markdown version of instructions, exactly what to do, what process to take with this unstructured data. We then drop it into a Slack channel called Customer Insights that I'm part of. And we have, I mean, literally after every sales call, what was their primary pain point? What was their primary trigger? What was their category entry point? I mean, that information to be able to feed back instantly into content, into messaging, into ad campaigns, it like into everything we do, like just at an instant. I don't have to do anything to get to that. All I have to do is open up Slack and look in the channel. I think the next point will be the next, phase and interesting thing from this will be how do we aggregate that data? But just for now, having all of those insights like literally at my fingertips is just like incredible.
Well, and how many times as a marketer, so if we want to talk to our marketing friends, how many times does the marketing team get frustrated because they ask for case studies, they ask for customer quotes, and customer success is like, yeah, no, this isn't the right time to ask, you know. And I've been on both sides of that, but now, go ahead.
Well, I'll open up my
You're,
next Slack
you're
channel.
grinning like to your ear.
I'll open up my next Slack channel, shall I? Which is called Customer Quotes. So this, it must be triggered off of our account managers' calls and emails, and we'll basically, run another workflow which takes all of their information, all of their call recordings, all of their emails, and looks for highlights from customers. So, I open up this Slack channel again, and I've got things in here. So glowing. We worded it funny. So, glowing customer testimonial found, and it's somebody saying, what have they said here? Blend content consistently outperforms other website resources and drives measurable results. And that was from, a customer of ours. I've got the exact timestamp of when it happened in the call. I've got the link to the call recording. And now I can just go ahead and ask, oh, can we use that on our website? Can we use that, as an asset? Like, that's all instant. Like, there's no more going to your customer success team and saying, oh, have we had any, glowing references recently? They probably can't even remember. Right? They don't need to remember now because we've got it all captured like at our fingertips. I could keep going as well, like with these kind of use cases.
Damn it, I love it. This is that pure joy, that pure joy that you're feeling, that where you're having even a hard time holding back, is obviously as a founder is very fulfilling. But that is like when you are trying to move so fast and we are all being required to do way more and with way less. It really is just having the right data unlocked. This is not about something that maybe you could have, if you used other tools, if you were like, well, you know what, I could go grab that transcript. I could go put that into a folder. I could go do these other things. It still just is so much of a process when it should be, I like what Josh said, magic. It should know what I want to know and should tell me when I want to know those things.
Here's a quick story from us at Blend and our customer, Daytel. Daytel were launching a completely new product in a brand new market with a different type of buyer. To do this effectively, they knew they needed to rebrand, overhaul their website, and rethink their go-to-market strategy. We partnered with them to achieve this, transforming their brand, rebuilding the site with their new identity, and working with them long-term to shift from lead generation to demand generation. The impact? 35% more revenue, 63% more profit, and 800% ROI from marketing. And to top it off, a HubSpot Impact Award to recognize the success that we had together. This is what happens when you have a partner who has strategic, creative, and technical expertise all working together. If you're in a similar place and want to discuss how we can help your business grow, just head over to blendb2b.com. I want to tell you about a podcast that's essential if you're trying to apply AI in your business, and let's face it, who isn't right now? The Next Wave, hosted by Matt Wolf and Nathan Lands from the HubSpot Podcast Network. As leading AI creators, they break down the latest tools and technologies into what you can actually use to grow your business. As AI reshapes business operations, Matt and Nathan help you investigate what's worth implementing. If you're deciding where to invest in AI for your marketing or business, they cut straight to what delivers results. The Next Wave, available wherever you get your podcasts. Woody, do you want to talk about CRM automation?
I love talking about that. Every salesperson that's on here hates their CRM. They dread it. But I think that it's important to talk about the CRM automation, not in a way of just like it takes one thing and puts it into the other thing, but actually talks about relieving that anxiety of the CRM process for the sellers, for the CS teams, and for the leaders. Because for someone who grew up on Salesforce and then switched to HubSpot, because it's all both, HubSpot's great. Is like, if it's not in Salesforce, it never happened. How many deals I lost because I didn't track something? How many things fell out of ROE, or the dread that came in that the end of month of like that clean your room dashboards that we used to have to do, where we'd like just to make sure that we were doing up to date. As a seller, you actually start off with just frustration because you're like, this doesn't help me do my job. So why am I doing this? What's in this for me? And what we've noticed is that now that we've removed that friction of taking care of your CRM, the managers are having better conversations with their sellers because they're not have to be nags over just managing a CRM. They're doing better coaching, better one-on-ones, because now they have more time aside to that because they don't have to worry about that. So what AskElephant does is we have these really, really cool agents for HubSpot and Salesforce that understand your process, your system, to then automate the whole thing for you. It's not about putting in Medic. It's not about putting in just a scheduled next event. It's understanding when a deal should be created. When should an opportunity be created? Should this contact be created? It understands updating the close date, updating the close amount, updating the SOW, updating every aspect of it, because it's not an automation. It's an actual agent that can understand and think through what it needs to do to follow along with your process to keep those outcomes consistent.
So, Woody, again, is this taking unstructured data from call recordings, from emails, whatever it may be, and that agent is basically looking at that all the time and updating your CRM based on, the best logic from the unstructured data?
Yeah, we'll walk through a common use case, and then we'll walk through one of the uncommon use cases. So let's say that I just got off a call. It was my third call with the client. And during the call, we talked about, when they're going to sign up, what a pilot looks like, how many people are going to be on the pilot. There are certain words in there that would trigger the agent to say, oh, I know I need to do something in the CRM. So what am I going to do first? I'm actually going to go read the structured data in the CRM. Okay, now as an agent, I now have the information to say this is what's in the CRM. So I know that the close date is set for Thursday. It's for this amount, and this is okay. Now that I know that, the process that we need to do is like, is that close date, is that information accurate? So now I'm going to review the first call, the second call, the third call, and the emails to make sure, like, okay, is all this information accurate? And then update the information that's not accurate. That's the most common one. People use it for creating tasks in HubSpot. People use it for making sure that the customer handoff is done in HubSpot. Whatever data is supposed to come from your unstructured conversation and putting it into HubSpot. But it's not just looking at the single transcript. I think that's where a lot of people get confused between us and some competitors, is that single transcript is not all of the context. You have to use all of the context.
Exactly right. Yep.
And that, of course, I think, is so forgotten. You have to have all of it. Or it's going to put the wrong data in. Now, this is the one that gets me excited. And I'm just going to nerd out for a second. I have a meeting coming up on my calendar. That is a trigger. Your calendar event is a trigger. So it's going to say, oh, you're about to meet with this customer. I'm going to go check to see if it's in HubSpot. Oh, it's not in HubSpot. I'm going to create it for you. Okay, now that it's in HubSpot, I need to do some information. I'm going to trigger a web agent to go search the internet, to go pull in this data so I can understand these couple things. And now I'm going to update HubSpot with that. So before I even get on a call, my HubSpot is accurate. And then once I get on the call, then now my HubSpot is now accurate. So it's the unstructured data is not transcripts. It's all of the data that us humans interact with. It's the internet, it's Slack, it's email and conversations that all needs to be aware of each other so that I can have the correct input into my CRM. And I love what Josh said. If X knew Y, what would Z be? That's exactly what it is. Because if we know there's something on the calendar, I know that I should go search the internet. I know that I learned these things. I know that I should put that into Z.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the business benefits of this are like extraordinary, right? It's not just time saving in terms of, updating the CRM, which all salespeople hate as far as I'm aware. Like there is not a single salesperson I think I've ever spoken to that enjoys admin in the CRM, but it's like time saving. So how much like more efficiency gain are you getting from your reps as a business? How much more value are you getting from them to, spend time with customers, spend time prospecting, whatever it may be? But actually, how much can that additional data that you're getting in the CRM increase win rate? Like you've got all of these benefits.
That's right. I think win rate increases is a big one. I think capacity of the rep is a big one. We see that by leveraging tools like this and creating these orchestrations, an individual rep, it used to be that, in at least in enterprise sales, if you were working more than 10 or 12 deals at a time, you weren't going to do your best work.
Yeah.
Now that could at least double, which is great news for the rep because they can make more money, and it's great news for the customer because they can reduce their fixed cost, and have fewer salespeople who do more done. Like, I love that model.
Yeah.
I love paying people, more than they ever thought they'd ever make. I just want to do it when they're creating more money than we ever thought we'd get in the business, right? And this enables that to happen.
Josh, I love that you got there without us talking about it before. The main outcome that our product team is driving for, we call it just rep quota capacity. And so to drive quota capacity, you need to do three things. You need to give them more time so they can do a quantity, they can do more. And you need to make it so that the quality is better. So, and then we break out that from our outcomes tree is saying, okay, now how do we help it so that they can do more quality? There's time savings that like you go through every aspect of it. But then the quality aspect of it is, okay, we need to make the rep better. So that way we can help them with their quality. And then we need to make it so that their deals are better. And so our new favorite agent is we've just created an ICP SDR agent that's analyzing our SDRs, making so that are they working the ICP correctly and doing an ICP score? And now the deals our SDRs are working have increased in close rates, have increased in the right conversations. So we're not wasting time talking to the wrong person anymore. And so I love it.
I'm curious. I haven't asked this of you before, but who is your ICP?
Our ICP is we're focused on B2B software companies that have some sort of implementation or CS team. We don't like working with companies that are just sales focused because it is about de-siloing data. And so they're like-minded in that way if they have some sort of service team or implementation team. And so we're working with customers between 50 employees to 2,000 employees, and really, really focused with some sort of cross-department function is where we've had our most success.
That's awesome.
And we love service companies like you guys.
Yeah, I was going to say services companies, like the more you're touching, the more your business thrives on touching your customer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what services companies do, right? Like, and so I would think that would fit really well.
Service companies and software as a service company. But it's really, really focused on that service side. And we believe that revenue is no longer a sales job. It's now more attached to more departments and more implementation teams. Expansion, renewals are is becoming more and more important. And so we put all of our efforts into those companies who care about their customers.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of topics that aren't on here. You mind if
Go
I
for
just go? Okay. So I'm curious, Woody, your thoughts on how the job of RevOps is changing based on access to tools like this.
So when RevOps started, well, there used to just be sales ops and marketing ops. And then someone tried to throw in CS ops. Uh, and what really was being forced is how disconnected all the tools were. You had to hire admins to use those and make sure that the tools were kind of functionality and could kind of work together.
Yep.
So then it started off with CRM admins, and it started to, and people just started to like, that was a big part of it. Then it was building it. Okay, well now I need to hire a BI person so I can get the insights from my data. And so I now am building dashboards in my CRM, or I'm using Looker or other tools. Now, all of those tools are becoming easier to implement, easier to use. And so it's really turning into revenue strategy, where RevOps is, I posted a few days ago about how RevOps is dead, but it's not completely dead.
I
What's
didn't even know that. That's
Yeah,
funny.
I posted it last week, and it got an interesting reaction because it really is like this whole thing is changing. And the cool thing about it is most people in RevOps are excited about it because
Mhm.
their wrong job is dead. The right job they now have time for because they're now working with revenue strategy. They're now making so that the X and Y is getting to Z, and they can think through that full customer experience and customer journey, not think through, I don't have this insight in the right place, so I can't help prepare for this board meeting. So I'm going to go force my 30 reps to go spend 2 hours after work cleaning up their CRM. And I did that as a leader. And that's the part where I'm very excited about this evolution that's changing, because to be in revenue, you actually need to be slightly more technical. So us nerds that like talking to people are getting way further ahead because we're seeing the stuff that the tools can unlock, not just automate. And it's going to that next generation of revenue strategy and revenue thinking.
So I'm going to give you a new term. Well, maybe a new term to you. It's not a new term to us. I'm going to suggest we start using the term growth engineering
We
because
talk a lot about that.
it's an engineering mindset to not just revenue, but how you build growth into the organization.
Yeah.
And that's where I see RevOps naturally moving, or all of the ops naturally moving into. And you're right. It does command then a seat at the table at
Mhm.
the big table, right? Like C-suites need to understand this stuff, and boards of directors and PE firms and like people that are going to make major investment decisions, they have to understand what's possible and you know, what what state of good looks like now. Because if you don't, you're going to be, so far behind, and your competitors are going to run so far faster, so much faster than you and your legacy sales organization can keep up with. So,
I
all right. So,
I
yeah,
love
go
that.
ahead.
I'll validate that. I think growth engineers will report up to revenue strategists and revenue strategy, um, and the silver tongue of the salespeople, who the art of sales, no longer is going to be the ones that are the CROs. They're
Mm.
like, they'll still be necessary in sales. It's still important, and we'll be able to
Yep.
unlock a lot of
Yeah.
that.
Still closers. Yep.
We still need that. But when you're looking at, if you want to get into leadership and you want to grow and evolve into business outcome minded versus just closing deals, the CROs that are silver tongues aren't going to be the ones of the next generation of leaders. It's going to be the ones that are more ops minded and growth engineer minded.
I agree with you completely, but I'm also just intellectual honesty. This is two geeky software engineers that are saying that became salespeople that are saying, yeah, we're the ones. But I think it's true.
It's very true.
It's just, you know, it's also kind of funny.
That is fair. Now we are not in those roles anymore, so we are telling but the ones that we're talking to and the executives that are talking to me and asking those things, I obviously am always promoting my personality. So 100%.
All right. So my last question, and you may not be able to answer this, but you're not publicly traded yet. So what can we expect in the near future from Ask Elephant? What's on the agenda?
There's some really, really exciting things coming. I'm not going to share all of them on a recorded line. I can tell you some of the stuff afterwards. But from a technology standpoint, what is going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months, I think is really going to continue to shock people. I don't think the growth is done. The models are getting to a point where their doubling is getting harder, but what you do with those models is completely changing. And so I'm very, very, very excited about the more of the orchestration layers that you can be able to do, giving AI longer and longer tasks and more complex things to think through. And then the thing that I can we're about month or two, not having to click into a customer to ask a question, just being able to ask a question and being able to, it will go find the customer you're talking about, not having to collect calls together, just asking, and it will go grab all the calls for you. There's a couple of those feature improvements and delighters. Our goal is that you don't have clicks. You just get to ask, or it's proactively asking you. And then we're creating a free tech stack as well that will launch at end of next quarter. We believe that a lot of technology, there's no reason that there should be software businesses built on them alone. So we have a whole tool belt of free tools that are going to be there just so everyone can just be as more efficient. And then that will allow us to have all the data that then will build the workflows off of, because guys, note takers is so easy. Anyone can build it over a weekend.
Right.
Capturing the data is not cool anymore. It's about putting that data to work. So anything about,
I mean, honestly, like that has been, those have been around for a decade, right? Or more. Like Gong was around and has been doing cool stuff for a long time. It's what Woody was talking about. It's taking all of that and creating orchestration around it that actually moves the needle, gets things done.
Yeah, totally. Woody, I'd probably say a good 70-80% of our audience are marketing leaders for this podcast. So what would you say to them is the primary reason they should either be the ones to implement Ask Elephant at their business, or take it to the sales leader, to the customer success leader, to whoever needs to see and implement this software?
And before you answer that, or the ones to bring it to Blend, to have Blend implement it for their growth organization, which we'd be happy to do.
Of course.
The first thing for all marketers out there, I apologize for all salespeople out there. We are grateful for the leads you give us. They're not bad. They're great. We salespeople do take for granted all the hard work that you do. So, if you're not feeling appreciated by your sales leader, hear it from me. I think the big thing is, one is Ask Elephant does integrate with a lot of other data capture tools. So if you're currently using a Gong or other sort of tool out there, don't come to us to capture it. But now, if you're not capturing the data, you need it. So make sure you are capturing it. But if you're not, whatever your other teams are using, let's bring in Ask Elephant to unlock that data so you can have the insights to your customers, so you can actually be doing the impact you want in your role. So for marketers, there is so many insights and information that's locked inside that conversation. And there is account managers on your phone with your customer right now that is a perfect case study that you've been wishing could get, and it's there. You just don't know it. And so I would say if you're ever feeling like, that's the first thing, is for all marketers, get your customer data unlocked. And so of course you can be able to bring it in, reach out to Blend and have Blend help you get that set up. And Ask Elephant is that first cross revenue team tool. We're not for sales teams, we're not for CS teams, and we're not for marketers. We are for all that are touching and care about your customers. And having that de-siloed will make the biggest impact. So
Yeah.
that's what.
And yeah, for sure. And I was going to ask, what's the best way to get started with Ask Elephant? Of course, number one is to come with Blend. And actually, I was at a marketing meetup last night, which has about 25 marketing leaders across like SaaS, cyber being the core two industries. And I was showing off some Ask Elephant workflows. And honestly, people were blown away by this. I find sometimes I get so consumed in tools and so consumed in a particular like area that I'm really focused on at one time. I think everyone's doing this stuff. Like this is just things that everybody knows right now, everybody's doing. But seriously, like if you want to see some of the cool things, and we'll overlay in this podcast with some of the screenshots and things that we were talking about as we go through, so you can visualize some of the things we were talking about. But I can show you some really, really cool workflows that we're working on right now and literally have in practice at Blend. And yeah, they are incredible for fueling the entire growth of the business.
Yeah, they are. I think it's not wrong to say we're experiencing more growth right now than we have in a long time
Yeah.
anyway. And we do believe that Ask Elephant and a number of the other things that we've put in place are by themselves, they don't solve the need, but when implemented with, growth engineering intelligence, they make us all go faster.
Yeah.
And it works, and it's a better service. Like, it's a better experience for the customer. That's why I think that's why we're winning the deals we're winning, is because our competitors aren't doing those things. And maybe they should, but
And maybe they will now.
maybe they will. But the people have an expectation of what it feels like to work with a marketing agency, and when we come along and we have a very different experience, a much more real time, very intelligent, very thoughtful, very holistic experience that sheds light on some things that they didn't even know to ask. I think it creates value for them, and we're appreciative that Ask Elephant has made that possible.
I appreciate that. The last thing I would add to that, Josh, is every role out there needs to get out of its own silo. Like, if you're in marketing and you're only worried about the leads that are coming in, you're not worried about renewals, then there's an opportunity for growth there. And you guys are doing that. You've unlocked that. But siloed work is last generation's. It is truly about being a growth engineer, which is thinking about it from A to Z. And that data is ready to be unlocked, and you can get a workflow up and going within, with Josh and Dan, within an hour. You can have those insights unlocked and be able to be at the right place, talking to the right person with the right data.
Yeah, awesome. Look, Woody, we're out of time, so we should wrap things up here, but it was so amazing to have you on. I've shown so many people Ask Elephant. We've spoken about Ask Elephant God knows how many times on this podcast. So, to have the nerd, if you don't mind me calling you a nerd, who created Ask Elephant on the podcast has been, truly fascinating to hear the story. So, yeah, much appreciated.
Well, thanks for having me.
This episode of Demand Decoded was brought to you by Blend. We help B2B technology companies grow through strategic, creative, and technical expertise, bringing you the capabilities you need to drive demand and turn it into real revenue impact for your business. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Demand Decoded on your favorite podcast platform, leave us a quick review, and we'll see you next time with more insight to help you grow.